Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Ducking Realitea. In the pond with me today is my my friend and mentor and former boss, Sandy Russell.
Hello.
And you probably have heard, if you've been a listener, you've heard about Sandy countless times already. And she is a sponsor of the Squirrel Girls podcast. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. And by sponsor, I mean she just lets us use her name and the bar's name. Because that's where Anna and I met. That's where I've grown some confidence to be able to do this. Just to kind of catch everyone up, because I moved to the island actually 5 years ago this month.
Wow.
Yeah. And what a wild ride it's been. But I used to live around the corner from Fireside, and it was during the pandemic. So every time I would walk by, it was closed. But I would think, I'm going to, I'll probably work there one day when it's open. I'd never seen inside of it. And then one day when I was walking by, the patio was there. And Greg, musician Greg, what's his last name?
Greg Feeler.
Greg Feeler was outside. And I was walking by, he was like, yo, what's up with you? How are you doing today? And I was just like, I'm good. And then a couple of times when I walked by, people were there. So I finally got to go in a little bit during the pandemic and get a to-go cocktail. And then we met 3 or 4 times in between other people.
And more.
Yeah.
It's the one I remember most
the biggest
vividly.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you gave me a job part-time so I could meet people and not have to just be alone on the island.
I mean, I didn't give you a job because of that. I gave you a job because you're awesome.
Well, yeah.
And great personality and great bartending experience and all of that. But true. I'm glad you met people and got to know the island a little bit.
Yeah, and it was amazing to get to meet you, too, because then I found out of all the things that you do. Because you were then still part of WABA, you were part of the West End's art community, you were doing things I'd never seen bar owner do before. Most bars were shutting down and just firing their staff, and you were coming up with to-go cocktails. You put together the outdoor. Well, the park was after, right?
The healing garden that was created in the parking lot with a venue that came during COVID. Yes.
But even before, at the start of COVID, you were doing all of these things to help keep your staff and keep them making money.
Yeah, it was a really scary time. And, I think my actions were twofold. One, I was scared to death. I thought I was going to lose everything. And, didn't know what sort of economic relief was on the other end or anything. And strong commitment to my team. And I'm not the sort of person that can just sit around and go, oh, woe is me. What do I do next? So we just kept going and had to do whatever crazy idea I came up with next. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But it certainly kept us busy and engaged with the community. And, ever so grateful for all of the support that the community did show us.
So we'll get back to the Fireside stuff, but tell us a little bit about you. Where did you come from? How did you get to be such a badass?
Well, let's see. I was born in Southern California and lived there until I was 31.
Oh, wow.
All over Southern California. But I grew up in Los Angeles County, but near Santa Monica Beach area. And a good portion of that on the kind of right on the Santa Monica boardwalk. There's apartments there above the businesses and stuff. And I lived there and actually had my first job on the Santa Monica boardwalk. I worked in the dime pitch, restocking glassware and ashtrays and, collecting all the dimes and giving them back to the carnies. And I'd go get their lunch and stuff. They'd pay me $5 a day. I was 6.
That had to be a wild place to grow up.
It was fun. It was fun. Got to do things like, the big slide that has to be waxed every day. We, a bunch of the neighborhood kids, we got to go up there early in the morning and wax the slide for them and, climb the stairs, write it down, climb the stairs, write it down, over and over and over again. But, got to do it for free. Same with knowing the people that had the merry-go-round on the Santa Monica Pier that ran that. They'd let us go in there when they weren't open and on our roller skates and hang onto the horse's tail and go around and around and around.
Oh my God,
which
that's
was super
awesome.
fun. And then got to play all the games in the arcades and the carnival games. So yeah, ride the bumper cars. Yeah, that part was really cool.
Yeah. And you must have just that just exposes you to so many different types of people and things and jobs and ways of thinking.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. My early childhood was of very modest means, and that was in the 70s. So kids just kind of ran amok and did what they did. I was a talkative, outgoing kid, and would meet people and love to help, and I still do. And offer to help would turn into making $5 a day on the weekends, or getting to do fun stuff. And then later down the road, it turned into paper routes and things like that. So those were my.
Yeah, your hustle has always been strong.
Yeah, strong hustle early. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was bad working at 14. You were working at 6.
Well, I mean, if you call it work.
Well,
but yeah.
I mean, you were getting paid, so yeah, that's work.
Yeah, I was getting paid. $5 was a lot to a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you go to? You lived in Southern California until you were 31. Did you go to college in?
I attempted to go to college a few times.
I was going to say, I don't know if we've ever talked about whether or not you went to college.
I attempted to go to college a few times.
Yeah.
Local junior colleges and whatnot. But I moved out of my parents' home when I was 17. Mm-hmm. And, it's hard to work and pay for life when you don't have a ton of skills. Let alone a college education, and could have done things differently, but I didn't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I also have the attention span of a gnat, so.
This is very true.
So school is a little slow for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm I would say I am adequately smart, but I am not an academic. But I can hold my own.
Yeah. No, I mean, to watch you, because now I've seen you, I've worked with you on, just worked for you and worked with you on all different aspects. And to watch you, run numbers, I'm like, I don't understand how you can do that. You're like, oh, no, this and that, and this divided by that. And, you're doing fast math in your head most people can't. You do it faster than most people can use it with a calculator. So your intelligence is not anything I would have ever questioned.
Yeah.
Attention span, yes. Yeah. Intelligence, no.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Numbers make sense to me.
No.
Sometimes, sometimes I can look at something and looks like a foreign language, but yeah, I don't know. Whatever my touch of the tism is, there's definitely an ability to recognize patterns in numbers. Yeah.
So when you weren't attempting to go to college, what were you doing? What got you ready to do everything that you've been doing now?
Wow. As a young teenager, I had paper routes. I had one, and then I found out I could have 3. So, it was
might as well do 3.
Delivering 3 different papers at one point, and then went to work for different retail companies. And when I was 17, I was working for a retail company, and was then offered my first management position the day I turned 18.
Wow.
Officially. I was doing this stuff before then, but and that's kind of where it started. I started managing people and managing numbers, and I had a knack for it. And then ended up in the bar industry, having gone retail to food service, quick service, what have you, and then had a really great opportunity where I learned a lot and found an industry that I loved.
Yeah. What kind of, I mean, you worked at nightclubs in LA for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like huge warehouse sized nightclubs.
I worked for an incredible nightclub owner named Sandy Sachs, who still owns clubs. She owns a big club, Bourbon Pub and Parade in New Orleans. I learned a lot watching her and learning from her, and just really enjoyed the industry. And even when I left that job and moved up to Northern California, something I wanted to do, but I was, when I got here, I was in the quick serve and food industry again for a number of years until the Fireside opportunity came up.
And then you bought Fireside with two of your partners from the quick food service industry place, right?
Yeah. So two of my really good friends, Bitsy Eddy and Keely Rogers-Free, we all worked for Starbucks at one point together. And Keely and I, at one point, would go and kind of sit in other businesses and talk about what would we do differently and how would we change it and how could we make it better, kind of as a learning activity for us, with the desire to do something. We didn't know what, but we wanted to do something. And the Fireside opportunity came up. A friend of mine, James, had called and said, "Hey, Fireside's for sale. You should buy it." And I'm like, "Me and what army?" Right. And I just, it didn't get it. Didn't seem possible. And, God, probably 4 or 6 months later, he called again and said, "Fireside's still for sale." And at that point, Bitsy was leaving Starbucks, and it just kind of lined up. Her husband at the time, Christopher, helped us get into that. And the three of us, all really strong operators in our previous work life.
Right.
But, all the things you didn't know that you didn't know until you know them. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that you don't realize that corporations take care of that back end that you don't, and you just go through the operations they've set up for you. So there was, a huge learning curve there. Yeah. And then at one point, Keely's day job got really big. Keely and I still had our day jobs when we first opened. Bitsy kind of ran day-to-day operations.
Well, that's
in-house.
smart. That way, like, your interests are slightly still diversified. And you have opposite, like, other incomes coming in while you're getting your business off the ground. And
yeah, and that was necessary because it was, the Fireside had been closed for the better part of 2 years. The people people that owned it before us had some personal stuff going on, and so they were not open consistently. And there were some other issues, but we knew Alameda would be a great spot. Certainly thought the trajectory would be steeper with the development happening out on this part of the island where you live. It took a little longer to happen, but it's happening, which is great. So we had to get super creative. But Keely left, I forget what year that was, maybe 2015. And then
after you bought the bar, you mean? The three of you bought the bar?
In 2011.
Right.
And then Keely had a couple kids. Her day job got very big and complicated and demanding. And around 2018, Bitsy and I were at dinner, and she said, "I don't think I want to do this anymore." And, I said, "Well, let's figure out what you do want to do, because this is what I want to do."
Right.
So let's figure out what you want to do and what it's going to take for you to get there. And now she's traveling all over the world working with Doctors Without Borders, doing logistics stuff and fighting the good fight. And
I know next time she's in town, I want to talk to her too. Because when I found out what she did, I was like, wow, like, how do you even get into that? Like going from being a bar owner operator to now running logistics for Doctors Without Borders.
Right.
Like, how did you transition that? Like, how did you?
It's all really good story. You definitely need to talk to Bitsy. Definitely need to talk to Bitsy.
Yeah.
Keely too. Keely's.
I don't know what Keely's day job is.
Keely is a really high level analyst, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
She worked in the banking industry for a long time. Now she's in tech stuff.
I was going to say, I knew she did some kind of tech business, but I wasn't sure what it was. Yeah.
High level analysts and project management kind of things. Yeah.
So, like, the three sirens that started Fireside are three badasses. Like,
Yeah.
So then in 2018, Keely left, so when they
Bitsy left.
Bitsy left. I'm sorry. When were they there when you started? Like, so just for people that don't know, Alameda, like, what was the island like in 2011? Was it still kind of deserted on the side of Webster because of when the Navy pulled out? From what I understand, like, so much shut down.
It was desolate. It definitely was not what it is today. Definitely, businesses were starting to move in. I think kind of the catalyst was West Cafe, Monica and Miguel. I think they were kind of the catalyst to what happened. And then...
big shout out to them.
Big shout out to them.
Thank you for always feeding me and having good coffee.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just talk to them too.
Yeah.
I think that was the catalyst with the kind of revamp of Webster. We came in maybe 2 years later, and 1400 opened a couple months right after us. And then it just, it kept going.
But did you create West End Business Association, or were you just help to elevate it?
WABA has been around for years.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. When I joined WABA, it was because there was some scuttlebutt, and I don't even remember what, but a friend of mine said to me, if you don't like what's happening, then get involved. And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I can sit here and complain, or I can do something about it. So I got involved with WABA, and then a year after I started, I took over as president of the organization. Sandeep had been the president for 15 years. Wow. And was just time to move on. It was a different organization then. And, seemed like a good idea and an opportunity. I was excited to make a difference and help grow the businesses in the neighborhood. I didn't really know anything about it or how that was going to happen, but I really wanted to learn. And, I think I was ready to be moving on to something else when COVID happened, and that would have been the wrong time to leave that organization.
Right.
So,
yeah, 'cause you helped keep that whole street kind of alive during that.
Well, there was definitely a group of us that put together. We turned the parking lot next to Calafia. Initially, is Healing Garden. Like during the George Floyd riots that were going on, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, we recommend that you board up your business because there's stuff happening just the other side of the tube, and we don't know what that's going to look like." And that was kind of a call on the down low. I then said, "Okay, so let's do that." My friends that owned Feathered Outlaw, my friends that owned Alameda Tattoo, I was like, "Hey, we're going to get plywood to board up. Do you want us to board up your businesses too?" Tanoa,
who's your audio and
A-Town agency and events.
Yeah.
Tanoa.
We might talk to him in November once his busy season's over.
Yes. Tanoa, who's all things amazing. Tanoa was available and was like, "Yeah, I'll board these things up." So we went and got plywood and did that. And then, when that civil unrest was not over because it's never going to be over, but when the riots had died down, even before that, we're like, this looks terrible. It's plywood. Like, can we get some art done on this? Just kind of take some of the sting away, you know? Businesses were boarded up and dark, and it was just sad.
We're already dealing with this terrible thing that's happened in our communities.
Right. We've already been closed down because of COVID, and then it just...
And then, I mean, they're marching in the riots now. Are, you know, there's different conspiracy theories on some of that, but like the fact that this had happened, it was already like terrible enough, and now we have to look at our businesses like shuttering, and people being scared of coming out, and
and
you know, being scared of whether or not your business would be there in the morning was a terrible feeling.
It is. It was even more terrible though to sit inside the business that had been boarded up and it's pitch black.
Yeah,
because you've got no sunlight coming in from the windows or anything, which was that had a profound effect on me. And that was kind of the impetus to, we've got to get some art done on this plywood.
Right.
A number of artists from around the community did, mini murals. Once the plywood came down, we were like, God, this is now a piece of Alameda history. We've got to do something with this. So in the parking lot next to Calafia, we created a healing garden, or, that's what we envisioned as an outdoor community space that told a story and would hopefully allow people some way to heal. That later turned into the whole Taylor Webster lot becoming an outdoor venue.
Yes.
With a stage and picnic tables and whatnot, so that community events and outdoor concerts and things like that could be done, because we couldn't do anything inside. Right. So like the first year with that, we did local events, and Tanoa and I tried to put together a few concerts. The Waba was hugely involved, as Tanoa and I were both on the board. Maria Ortega, a bunch of folks trying to put these things together to bring community out to gather in a way that was safe. Right. Which we were able to do.
With the help of Linda Ashbury, too. We want to give her a shout out, since she's already been on the pod. People have already met her.
Linda Ashbury,
Life with Linda.
My favorite partner in crime.
Yes.
When I was president, Linda was the executive director. All the years we were...
So you two worked hand in hand with all of that.
Yeah. And I love Linda. She's like my bonus mom.
Yes.
So, putting all that together, not just the concerts, but craft markets and, organizations were able to gather in a safe way outside to do fundraisers and things like that. In the second year, in terms of the concerts, I reached out to my friends at the Ivy Room. Hey, Summer and Lonnie. They have a much broader musical reach than the Fireside does. We're a really small room. They're much bigger than we are. Mm-hmm. And they've got really great connections in the local music industry and beyond. And we took that on together. So we were able to do outdoor concerts. We did 26 events, 21 concerts that year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they brought some solid Bay Area and beyond talent. The Fireside kind of operationally put the outdoor bars together. And we were able to serve our community, and they were able to gather in a safe way until everything started to open again. So we were a little bit early. I mean, I think in the outdoor ideas that spurred out of COVID, but that series was called Tiny Towns because we're both two smaller cities. I know our mayor would correct me and say we're not a small town, but we're, as compared to San Francisco or Oakland or Los Angeles, that kind of thing.
Right.
The Ivy Room is in Albany, which is a few cities away north of us, and we're in Alameda, and they're both kind of medium-sized cities.
Right.
But
they both have a small town feel, though.
Totally small town feel. And yeah, so that happened, and then the world opened up again, and we were both able to start doing music and stuff inside again.
Yeah. And you guys do live music usually 2 nights a week, but up to 3, right?
Up to 3, sometimes 4. So we have an open mic night every Wednesday. We do a jazz jam on the last Monday of the month with Larry Noble.
Nice.
And other Mondays we have guest DJs.
Are you still doing comedy on Monday, the first Mondays of the month?
We were doing comedy until the comedy club closed. Right before they closed.
I could put you probably into contact with Dan Levy. He's one that he does comedy for the Banya for us once a month. We do
I'd
the
love
last
that.
Friday of the month.
I'd love that.
I'd love to have it back on the first Monday of the month or something, because now that we don't have a comedy club, like I never get to go see comedy anymore.
I would love to talk to him.
All right.
Yeah, and then so most Thursdays we have some live music, and then either Friday or Saturday, either a band or a DJ. Sometimes 2 bands.
Yeah.
Friday
And we
Saturday.
can't forget Kirkland on Tuesday with his trivia.
Tuesday trivia with Kirkland is
Handsomest man on the island, or most dapper at least.
he definitely is the most dapper
Yes.
on the island.
And people here have met Kirkland too.
Yeah.
Kirkland was on the podcast. He's one of my first guests.
Okay.
We keep talking about having him come back, but we haven't coordinated that yet.
Oh yeah, Kirkland's the best.
I love him. But so in addition to all the stuff you're doing at Fireside, keeping it afloat, keeping your employees paid during the pandemic, which I still am always in awe of. Like you were doing things like the to-go cocktails, you were doing cocktail kits, you were selling merch, you were setting up events outside. You were, on Saturday mornings, you were doing like makers events so that there was vendors. You were supporting all the local artists and vendors here. You have WABA going. You're like sitting up. And then where does West End art fall into all of this?
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, all of the WABA stuff. I want to be really clear. That it's a huge group effort and
Right.
undertaking.
But you were still the president of it.
Yes, I was.
So
I was.
yeah.
I'm not now. We'll
right.
get to that, but West End Arts. How did that happen? I don't even remember what year. 2013, 14, 15. I don't remember. Hiroko Cooper and I started doing an event, Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. After the first or second year, put together a nonprofit around that to help facilitate the growth of that event and somehow giving back to the community to support arts. We really had only used it for
The Blues Brews.
the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue because we're both business owners and doing different things.
What is Hirokum?
Hiroko Cooper.
What is-
Mike Cooper was the original partner at 1400
Oh, okay.
with the current owner. And Hiro is his lovely wife.
Okay.
Hiro went on to do some other things. Rachel Campos-Diavinov got involved with West End Arts with me. Marie Ortega, who, again, WABA, Tanoa, who was also WABA and all things, sound, lighting, everything. So that kind of grew. And then Rachel introduced us to a woman named Tara Pilbrow, who you know. And Tara started out as a volunteer and started really making moves with Rachel in the arts community with West End Arts as a vehicle. And, they took it and ran with it. And the organization at a point was able to start paying Tara, which is fantastic and well-deserved. And Rachel and Tara have kind of run with it and have done so much more than I could have ever dreamed that organization would be. And it's super fun to watch what they're doing and what they do next.
It is, yeah. I'm so excited for the In Plain Sight show in May. That's going to be amazing. I'm bummed I won't be here for all of it, but I'm glad I'll be here for some of it.
Good.
I'll be in Europe. But so, like, you help start all of that, and then you kind of find the right people to run it and take it over. Like, has that always been a gift that you've had? Is spotting talent?
I have been told by my mentors that my kind of leadership superpower is putting the right people together to accomplish the goal, right? I'm not the smartest one in the room. I'm not, I don't have the strongest skill set in the room, all of those things. But I guess you could say I have the ability to recognize it in others. And nothing thrills me more than people doing awesome things, watching everybody succeed or watching their ideas grow or watching their businesses grow. This about me. I very much come from a mentality of if everyone wins, then everyone wins.
Right.
And that, of course, that includes me, but it isn't just about me, right? I don't want to win at the expense of anyone else.
But where does that come from? Like, where does that kind of selflessness come from, or that like drive for the community as a whole? Versus, because especially right now in the world, like everyone is so individualistic and like, this is who I am and this is my label and this is my group and this is what I'm going to do for my group and fuck your group. Where you're just like, time out. You know that if we could all just be happy, we could all win. Like, and it would be enough for everyone. Like it's a different mindset that not a lot of people have. Never mind people that have been in, and no shade to them because it's been where I've lived, is like in the restaurant bar industry. Like we can get real catty and real like, fuck the people on the other side of the bar, and you have still maintained like this graciousness and this want to create more community.
I don't know. I think that's a twofold answer. I think the desire to be in community, kind of probably was born out of my early childhood, which was really complicated. I was in foster care until I went into foster care at 6 and then was adopted when I was 12. So I had a lot of different access to a lot of different types of people in a lot of different situations and had to adapt. But, I don't know. I think even in my own little kid way, being in gratitude that people were there, to make sure I didn't die, it helped me learn and grow and those kinds of things. And then I was very fortunate to be adopted by a family, the Russells, and to grow and learn and be taken care of in a different way. And then I think where I really got the idea of, or how much I enjoyed working in the community to make a difference was working with Starbucks. As a training store manager and a mentor and a coach, they kind of give you additional responsibilities that work with your skill set and your interests.
Oh, okay.
So I got to do a lot of community events for our district group, whether that was Habitat for Humanity or working at the garden with Alameda Community Collaborative or Alameda Point Collaborative, Doug Biggs, and some of the other events that they did there. And just realizing, like, it felt good to give back to the community and that people appreciated it. And that's where I adopted the feeling like if I can, I should. Because people did that for me. And it feels good, and you definitely have to find a balance with it. with all things, but I'm learning to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not only learning, but you're setting a good example for us, like for all of us.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, you've seen me when I used to drink. Not a good example.
Yeah, but even then, so that's actually a great point. Like while you were doing all of this, you were also struggling with alcohol. Or I don't know if like struggling doesn't feel like the right word to describe what you like, because you would get, like you were a really high functioning alcoholic. Like you were functioning at a level most people don't function without being an alcoholic.
Yeah, until I wasn't,
Right, but even still, like I guess as like an outsider, and I know that I don't know how you feel, like, but like as an observer and a person that was kind of in it with you sometimes, like your bottom was high. You know what I mean? Like I guess that's where I look at it from, growing up with addiction and seeing where most people's bottoms are.
Oh, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, like you didn't lose all your stuff. You still kept all your shit pretty much together. You know what I mean? And like you were, even when you were kind of in the throes of it at times, you were like, I know, I'm going to get my shit together. I know, but right now I have to go to bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like you were never a nasty, real drunk. Like it wasn't that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a handful of people that cared enough to stay on my ass, and you were one of them.
Yeah. I love you. I'm not going to.
I love you too. Thank God. I don't know. Yeah, the reality is my stop button is broken.
Right.
Right. I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, why would anybody just have 2 drinks?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the point? God, the universe, whatever, twisted sense of humor, to own a bar and then now be sober. And there are a number of us out there, sober bar owners. Yeah. It's definitely an occupational hazard if you don't have a stop button. I think that my addiction to alcohol almost cost me everything. And I feel like I've figured that piece out. I'm so much better sober, so much happier. Some people can do it. I cannot. Yeah.
But you also were what my uncle and I talk about white knuckling it, is that you weren't a meetings person.
Well, truth be told, I did go into the program when I had quit drinking another time. And some things about it I find very valuable. Some other things about it freaked me out. And it's not the God stuff, it was just some of the people interactions that I had were not how I want to do my sobriety. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from that program. I carry a lot of that with me. But there's some stuff that just didn't work for me. Right. I mean, I think that program and all programs have merit to them, and they'll work for who they work for. And I don't really have anything bad to say other than there were some things for me that were traumatic in that space. Mm-hmm. And I needed to not do that.
Right. Well, it's a good reminder to people that sometimes, just because it works for some people doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to find what works for you and keep that.
Totally. Some people can, work with, just cutting back or harm control or whatever it's called. Some people can cut back. Some people can, I'm just going to drink beer and wine because that's not my vice, just keep me away from the whiskey, whatever. I've tried all of it. Right.
But also that AA doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah. It doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah. Not getting caught in that, I have to do it this way.
Right. I'll tell you that having started with it was super helpful for me. Yeah. They have a thing, 90 meetings in 90 days is the suggestion. And I think that definitely helped. And even though I got sober, stopped being sober, got sober, stopped being sober now, I feel like that 90 meetings in 90 days showed me I could do it. And that was probably the most important thing. And that it wasn't just me that couldn't handle it.
Right.
Right? So,
Oh yeah, it does make you feel less alone. And if I'm honest, like when I've gone to meetings before and I've been like, all right, I don't have it that bad. Like my shit is not like my excuses for whatever I'm doing is like, no, I don't really have an excuse. That person has an excuse. Like it's almost like a gut check, and not like because you should be comparing, but just it gives you a whole different perspective where you're like, oh yeah, I'm whining about this, and that guy's like, or person's been unhoused and this and that, and you're just like, all right, so my shit's not that bad. Like,
you know what though? It's all relative. I think
I
think it's what you've experienced and what you lived through, right?
Yeah.
Like we talk about, physical pain. We both know that well, and some people think they know.
Yeah. I always want to punch them
living
in
with
the
that.
face.
Yeah, you want to punch someone in the face. They think they know what living with that is actually like, and they don't, or they,
The worst.
I had it really tough growing up, or I don't know, bad relationship.
Yeah.
Someone told me I didn't get a lollipop when someone else was getting the shit beat out of them.
Right.
Who knows? It's all relative to your experience. And I think all of my experience, childhood to now, some of it's been tough, but I think I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful to have experienced all of it, lived through it, grown from it. And becoming a person that I'd want to hang out with.
Right.
Right? Like I could have let all that stuff destroy me. Or I could have learned from it and grown from it. And I think that takes just, not everybody's going to get personal accountability, right? But I think recognizing what my part in situations that didn't go the way that I wanted them to go, recognizing my part in that problem, and recognizing that I could not do those things, and they would go away rather than being a victim to everything. Taking ownership of my responsibility and things made my life so much easier.
Did you learn that? Where did you learn that from, though? Because
interesting. I was working at Starbucks. I had a district manager named Marka Clark, and I was training, and another manager had done something or didn't do something they were supposed to do and didn't take responsibility for it. And her comment to me is, things would be so easy if they would just accept responsibility and fix it. And it wasn't even my lesson to learn in that moment, but I recognized myself in the not taking responsibility for what I didn't do. And I was like, oh, yeah, he could have done that. I'm like, oh my God, it's that easy.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
But maybe it was also so easy for you to learn because it wasn't actually your lesson, or it was your lesson, but it was your lesson to see like outside of yourself. Because if it was about you, maybe you wouldn't have learned it.
Probably.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, what an idiot. If you just said like, oh yeah, I fucked up here. Sorry, let me grab that. It would have wiped it. And you were like, oh wait, I've been making excuses this whole time too.
Right. For everything.
Yeah.
Right? Everything. And, being able to apply that and grow that in myself and realizing how much stuff I didn't take responsibility for, right? So that's a life lesson in progress. And I look forward to getting to learn more parts of things that, I don't have to keep screwing up. I can fix those things, do better, and keep going, right? And learn more. I think life gets easier and not ezy. Let's be clear. Like it's never going to it's never going to be easy. It just, but that piece of it gets easier, and I think the personal growth is exponential as you really own those lessons. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever think that you take too much personal accountability though? Like, do you
Sure.
think you overcorrect it sometimes?
Sure. I do. And you are not my first friend or loved one who has pointed that out. Yeah, I definitely take responsibility. I think that I could always have done something different. Someone can really do me dirty, and I'm still looking for what I could have done differently to have that not happen. Right. And, 2024 was some huge lessons around sometimes caring too much allows you to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And, I have always said to Melissa, my person, I felt like if you threw enough love or money at it, you could fix anything. I learned in 2024 that is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Right. But I've also found that I can also love at a distance and wish people well and hope that life gives them the lessons that they need to learn to be better and not hurt.
Right.
Right. Because people who are taking advantage of other people are hurting in some other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
they don't need to do it.
Yeah. Hurt people hurt people. And then some people, and I don't understand the thought process, but some people are like, well, if I'm miserable, I'm going to make you miserable too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they feed on that
terrible energy.
That terrible energy, right? Like we've talked about, misery loves company, but so does joy.
Yeah.
You put an aquarium together and you put the little rocks in and the sea monkeys and stuff, and you do it right and it grows. You take care of a plant and it grows. You give something what it needs and it grows and it flourishes. If you kept that plant in a dark room and yelled at it all the time, why aren't you growing? Fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm headed with that, but I think we all have the opportunity to be better, do better, learn. Just do better, people. Do better.
Yeah. Like, I love the Fireside motto is be nice or leave.
Be nice or leave, yes. Bitsy brought that in. There is a guy in New Orleans named Dr. Bob who paints these signs, and they're all over. Be nice or leave, right?
Yeah.
And we have it up above the bar. A guy that Bitsy was dating at one point made that for her. That was kind of his love language, just like his dozen roses.
Right.
And we've kept that up there. And when we repainted the bar, I painted it gold so it would stand out because it used to be gray. Yeah, be nice or leave. And that's kind of, that includes the Fireside team and the and our customers, right? Like I'm not saying there's not a place for, sarcasm and a little bit of shit talk all in fun, but, be nice or leave. Yeah. And I'm kind of at that point in my life with people. It feels good.
Yeah, it's helped me get there too, because I, as a trying to recover people pleaser, like in my life, I can be very forgiving and very like, no, it's my fault, or like I should do better, and then sometimes, and especially watching people take advantage of you has made me crazy. I mean, that's probably the only thing that we fight about is when I'm like, no, do not let them back into this life or your world, or and I think now, especially after we went through. When a couple of times I did say to you, like, listen, your drinking's like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And like, that was a scary place for me because I'm like, this could go either way.
Yeah.
Like at one point I was still working for you and I was just like, I won't work for you if this is what we're going to do. Like, I'll quit. Like, and I was like, fuck, do not quit your job, bitch. But also I felt so strongly about it. And it was to a testament to who you are. I knew like, hey, if I really care about this person, I'm not just going to keep watching them crash and burn. I'm going to keep coming around to try to say things in a way that was like not trying to make you feel bad about it, but knowing like you're not living the life you want to be living. Right. It's not about what I want for you. It's about what I know you want.
Well, it's because you love me.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk about seeing people's potential. You know, I said that maybe a leadership skill, the one leadership skill I might have. That also, you know, I see people's potential so much that I'm like, no, you know, you can do this, that I'll take on a lost puppy that has no ability to have any personal accountability or want to change. That is like, you know, how can I get over?
Right.
And I see the potential. That's the lesson in 2024 was like, you have so much potential, but you're not going to use it.
Right.
Right. You're going to use your powers for evil instead of for good. So you go off and do those things. No more lost puppies. Like, you know, if you lack confidence, but you want to be living up to your own potential, I'm in. I want to help. I want to support. Right. If you don't see your potential and that confidence is misplaced and it's, you know, you do the wrong thing because you can.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that anymore.
I don't either. I think I still have on my fridge that says do the right thing even when no one's looking.
Right.
Like,
you never have to question it.
Right. And sometimes people will be like, did you say this? I'm like, yep. Like, yeah, that was an asshole thing to say, but I said it. Like, because I'm always going to, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I don't still fuck up.
Same.
Or, you know.
Same.
Park where I shouldn't for 10 minutes every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff that, you know, none of us are perfect, but for the most part, like I never have to worry about something I've done because I'm going to do it whether you're looking or not. And if you ask me, I'll tell you, even if it hurts your feelings. Like, probably don't ask me.
Right.
But I want to be giving to the community that I'm involved in. I want to be more like people like you that are trying to figure out ways to give back and to be supporting the community and making it a better place and sharing and spreading joy as opposed to like just the last 5 years when I think about how far I've come, it's amazing. But then to think back like where I was 6, 7, 8 years ago and 10 years ago, I'm like, holy shit, two different people. Like I don't even remember what my life was like 10 years ago.
Same.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't giving to the community in any meaningful way. And it's probably some of the reasons why that part of my life is just now almost forgotten, but also wasn't anything I was proud of.
Right. I'll tell you, I mean, it's not like, you know, you said you're not perfect. I'm not either. Like I can think back and ways that I have treated people or spoken to people that were not kind or generous. And, you know, moments where I've been out integrity and, you know, had to face my own harsh realities about those mistakes and things. And, you know, again, every day just trying to do better, trying to fix those things, and take ownership of them. Right. And, you know, but.
Okay. So you were just saying that when you look back 5, 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I'm not the same person either. Let me find that train of thought. I'm not saying I was perfect in any way. I just think now there are fewer times every day where I'm doing anything that I'm going to regret later. You know, it's, and when something does come up, whether it's a thought or you say the wrong thing or you know, whatever, I think that accountability piece comes up and goes, that wasn't okay, or that was shitty. And I go back and correct it.
Mm.
You know, I can even more quickly now process, wow, what, that person just said something. Why am I upset about it? What did they really mean? Okay, let me adjust how I'm going to respond to this.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I've been able to keep my gratitude and wonder about the world and still learn the lessons and get a little tougher and a little more discerning. Definitely 2025 has been about discernment. And cultivating the relationships I want to have in my life, and not leaving any space for the ones that I don't.
But do you think you got to kind of this, enlightened might not be the right word, but I like it. So, but do you think you got into this more like self-assured, enlightened aspect just by that one comment? Or have you been doing like the other work of like therapy and reading self-help books? And like, how have you kind of developed this like radical, like personal accountability and being okay with apologizing or being wrong?
Sure. Years of therapy off and on. I think learning to trust people and knowing who you can trust, right? Like I can talk to you about anything.
Right. I
could tell you my worst deep, dark secrets and we could laugh about them and know here's the lessons we've learned from it. Right. You know what I mean? I totally lost my train of thought again. What were we talking about?
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Oh, sorry, that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
No, what we were talking about, how you got to be so kind of okay with being wrong, or being very accountable. Like your self accountability is great, and like you just said, you can get there faster to apologize or correct the situation, or realize you're taking things in a way that's probably not meant to be.
Right.
I was just wondering, like, how did you get to that point? Because like I want to be there, and I'm not sure I always am. And I get super insecure sometimes if I've made a mistake about like that's now connected to my worth and this and that. And like it's still stuff that I struggle with.
I am learning, and I haven't mastered it. Don't know if I ever will, but learning that what other people think doesn't matter to me. Doesn't make who I am, right? How I respond to the people that I care about and care about their opinions and suggestions and input and whatever, that matters how I respond to that and how I feel about my own place in things. People talk shit all the time about me, about you, about everything.
Right.
That's all noise now, and some of it, and this was something I was on the phone with a doctor the other day, and I realized that what they were just explaining something to me, and my listening was, oh, here they go again, right? And I caught myself saying that and going, ooh, how much of my own chatter do I put into what someone else says?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So I took a step back for a second and just listened to her. And it was a lovely conversation. I feel like I found the right doctor. And I felt heard. Yeah. I felt like we have a proactive solution, or proactive path forward to better health. And I'm actually excited to go meet her in person on Thursday. But that was a big aha moment for me, was recognizing I was feeling some kind of way.
Yeah.
And all she was doing was explaining something to me. And I caught myself in that moment and was like, ooh, that was totally me.
I just had one of those moments too the other day.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting.
I just came back in and I was like, I think I've just been hurting my own feelings all day. And my friend looked at me and they were like, what? I was like, you know how I was just sitting here kind of like in my head completely? And she's like, yeah. Because a couple times I was like, I just am in my head. I just need to stop. And she's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I don't know. And I like walked back in and I was like, I'm just hurting my own feelings. I was like, I have this whole storyline in my head about this issue that is not true. Like, I don't know any of if that's true, but like in my head, I've now convinced myself that this person hates me and doesn't want to talk to me and is like avoiding me.
Yes.
And they were like, why do you think? I was like, I don't know. Apparently the little gremlin that lives in my head is fucking on it today.
Right.
I'm like, and I was like, I've been sitting here all afternoon with hurt feelings about something that didn't even happen.
Right. And we all do that. I mean, I can't say we all do that.
No, I've heard some people don't. I've heard some people do not have that problem. They just get up in the morning and they're happy and there's no inside voice that tells them they're a terrible, shitty person. I don't believe it, but I've heard that that's true.
Bless their hearts. Right.
Go fuck yourself.
Right. No, I love that for them.
I do too. I'm astonished. It's like some people don't have anxiety. I'm like, wait, you never get nervous?
Right. Yeah, I don't understand that. I would aspire to.
Yes.
But yeah, I am vehemently aware that much of the torture I have put myself through or continue to put myself through is self-induced.
Yes.
Nobody's thinking about how I feel as much as I'm thinking about how I feel.
Yeah.
About a situation because they're all thinking about how they feel.
Yes.
And what they want and how they want a situation to look. You know, when stuff comes together, you're all on the same plane and timeline and it works. And sometimes we're all in our own little reality and getting out of it sometimes is harder for some people than others.
Yeah, that's what part of why I want to keep having conversations like this is to like talk to people that have inspired me, that I aspire to kind of be like, and not, I don't want to be you, but I want to be my version of you. I want to be.
You're way cuter than me.
You're way richer than I am. So, you know.
No.
It's not hard. I'm really poor.
No, same. Yeah.
But you're poor because you're starting new businesses, you're investing in things, you're growing your company.
I also make stupid decisions sometimes, and retail therapy's a thing.
It is. I'm so glad we can't shop on Amazon anymore.
Right? I'm trying to get better about all of this.
It's hard. It's hard to want to do everything right for our communities and be convenient for ourselves. It's hard to like give up some of the conveniences because it's going to help in the long run. For me, at least, like I want to just Kohl's is right, or not Kohl's, Target is right there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you don't want to be not an asshole, then I can't go there. Like,
right.
Like I don't want to give my money to people that are doing terrible things in the world.
Right.
But it's harder and harder to discern who's the good people, who's the bad people. Because when you look at it, and it goes all up to the same like 8 people that own everything.
Right. So that comes back to shop local, shop small.
Right.
It's hard because it's certainly not as convenient, and why these companies have succeeded is because we've become such a convenience-based society. But I think assessing what do we really need? Things are more expensive and for the foreseeable future are going to get more expensive.
Find your locals farmers market, support them.
Right. Support the farmers market. It's not, you're supporting something local, but, you're also getting a better quality product that, hasn't been messed with, is fresher, and,
right.
You're supporting the local farmer. I think looking at, I don't know, maybe this is the big universal lesson right now, is looking at what we need and not as much about what we want. We all want a lot of things, but I think important what we need and who do you want to be in the world?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest questions is who do you want to be in the world? Or what do you want to put out in the world?
Right.
Like, you know, who do you want to be and what do you want to leave kind of. I don't really believe too much in like, it was probably a shitty thing to say, but like a legacy, like I don't think you should live your whole life to leave one legacy.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't last. You know, your legacy doesn't last more than, what do they say, like 3 generations or maybe 2?
Right.
Like, do you know your great-grandfather's name?
Right.
I don't. You know, like there's not that legacy that people sometimes are striving for is like, well, you could have done all that good while you were alive. Like you could have used some of that energy to like make differences today in the people's lives instead of, I'm going to do all this for myself and then I'll leave this charity a bunch of money when I'm dead. Like, I think it's shifting that.
Right. Right. I think, I don't know. I think if people focused more on what is essential and what matters to them, which may not be the same as what matters to me, I think people could live in community better. You find your tribe, you find your people, and that's becoming more and more evident, I think, to a lot of us, who our tribe is and you know, what purposes we align with. I think it's important. Everything just needs to be simplified.
And what right now in your life are you focusing on growing? Because you've given West End over to a new regime. You and Linda both have moved on to other projects. Tara and Rachel have West End Arts.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you still have Fireside, but what's the future for Fireside? What's the future for you?
Wow. Well, I'm now spending about half my time in Grass Valley. I share a house with my dear friends, and going back and forth has been good. It allows me to clear my head and rest my body, which is definitely a necessity. And I can come back to Alameda and be more focused and hit the ground running and get more done. My Fireside is growing in that, out of COVID and doing outdoor events and stuff, grown a whole side of the business where we do offsite events. So now I do a bunch of events on the Hornet as their preferred bar services vendor. The USS Hornet right here in Alameda. And I'm super excited that we'll be doing the Mosswood Meltdown this year in Oakland.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
And so excited to be working with that team. Mark and Parker and the whole Mosswood team. Super excited. I was fortunate to be given the gift of a guy named Maddie Mesner, who has a ton of experience with music festivals and things like what we're doing. So he's been able to teach us a lot. We've been able to combine some experience and catering background along with his festival background, and I think we've got a really dynamite formula for making this work. So we're excited about that. And there's some other things coming, but, too soon to talk about.
All right. Well, I would talk to you all day, and I probably will because we're going to dinner.
Yeah.
But I know I need to give you off to Carrie for a couple hours of work. So thank you so much for sitting down with us, for telling us about how to find some of our own accountability, how to figure out how to be better in the world, and to build community.
You're welcome. Do they need to know that this is the third time we've recorded?
They didn't, but we can share that. We can share that.
You don't need to share
Sandy
that.
is, because you're humble, like almost to a fault. And I like that about you. And I see that myself in that about you, because I can be very humble and very, don't look at me. It's not about me. It's about this. It's about that. And we both have to get better at being like, oh yeah, we also are the badasses. And like, you are an inspiration to so many people on this island. Like, you have created a safe space for so many people on this island. You do events and fundraisers for school, for the LGBTQ community, for the softball teams, for, you know what I mean? Like, you are care to the community isn't for one tribe, one group. It's for the whole community. And you try to create spaces that all of those different tribes and communities and groups can come together and share and enjoy the things that overlap in those things. Fireside is that their only thing is be nice or yours, however it got there, Bitsy. And, that's the overarching golden rule. And I think it's kind of, amazing that it's painted in sparkling gold that says be nice or leave, because that's all that matters. We don't care who you sleep with, how you look. If you're polite, you're welcome in. If you're not, get the fuck out. And it's the people that come there know that about you, know that about your staff, and they feel comfortable coming.
Yeah. And I think that's also the personal lesson that we're saying. There's a whole bunch of people who are like, Fireside, Sandy, whatever. They don't have to like me, right? But be nice or leave my world. Right. And I'm going to be nice in yours. And if that works, great.
Right.
If it doesn't, I'll leave. You can leave.
Right.
We both know a bunch of people that, I want to hang out with you, or I don't.
Yep.
Those aren't the people I want to hang out with either.
Right.
And
it's a good reminder too that you don't have, not everything is for everyone, and not everyone has to like everyone. You should respect and be courteous.
For sure.
You don't need to be in love with everybody or want to be everywhere everyone else is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll just keep doing my best to do right by myself and by others. And honor and love the people that I love the most.
Well, I honor and love you.
Yay, same.
Thank you all for listening. If you're in Alameda, come check out Fireside Lounge at 1453 Webster Street in Alameda, California. Fireside Lounge Alameda on the webs, or Fireside.
It's at Fireside Alameda is our Instagram.
Yeah.
Our website is thefiresidelounge.com. And you can reach me at sandy@thefiresidelounge.com.
Perfect. Yeah. Any bands want to come book through Sandy, let us know. All right, y'all. I love you too. And go find some joy today.